Today I'm heading over to Triumph Osaka to try out the new Triumph Trident 660 to see what all the hype's been about. If you're interested in that, stick around for the review. We'll be right back at Triumph. Okay, let's take a quick loop and see if this is the bike to be. We're gonna start in road mode. Oof. It definitely has no hesitation. Oof. It's definitely not as crazy as the Street Triple for sure, but the sound, it's similar. It's definitely similar, but I saw in some reviews they were talking about a lag in the throttle, and yeah, it's definitely not as quick to rev. But no shortage of power. And the brakes are pretty good. About a week and a half ago, I got to ride the CB650R 2019. A month ago, I rode the Triumph Street Triple. Comparing to those two, this is definitely powered down compared to those two, I would say. The clutch is way lighter than both of them. Well, no, it's comparable to the Honda, I would say. I don't know if I like this throttle, but it is a superbly comfortable bike. This is an all-day comfy bike for sure. I would not mind riding this all the way up to Nagano and back. And that's the kind of ride I would actually be doing. I like the light sportiness of it. But I've got to be honest, I'm not feeling the craziness compared to even the CB650. Definitely a great bike. It's a very narrow bike considering it's an inline triple. Something like the GSXS 750 is a significantly wider bike. The torque, even compared to my V-Strom, is not quite there. There's no quick shifter on this one, but the shifting is fine. It's just a bit stiff. We could chop that up to a new bike, but compared to other new bikes I've been demoing, it's probably the stiffest, but I don't think you could ever miss neutral. Let's change the mode to rain just to see how does that change my life. I'm sorry, I don't like this throttle. That's a slow throttle. Some people are saying maybe it's a Euro 5 thing or a beginner bike thing, but I've ridden several Euro 5 bikes in the last month. This is special to the Triumph. I quite like Triumph as a brand. I like their bikes, but that kind of makes me think if that's how they think beginners need it, they maybe don't understand beginners. Oh wow, rain mode is definitely a change. Let's just not be in rain mode anymore. When I took out the Street Triple, I accidentally got an extra long ride because I went straight here, and that's not what I'm supposed to do. Do I think I can fit through that? I'm gonna say no. What a nice man. He just folded in his mirror for me. You gotta love riding in Japan. The infinite courtesy of people. But back to the bike. It's fit and finish, I would say, is tremendous. It doesn't feel cheap. That's what I didn't like about the MT-07. The MT-07 was a bit too much plastic for my taste. It'll get you through traffic no problem, the Trident. But yeah, the MT-07 was a bit too much plastic for my taste. This is a real metal tank. This is a pristine Triumph paint job. I have nothing to complain about with the fit and finish of the bike. The clock is really easy to read. The control is great. The comfort is amazing. If you're purely sticking to a 650 naked, I'd say I'm probably sitting on the most comfortable one. Oof. It definitely has more power once you rev it a bit than my V-Strom. The brakes are enough. The brakes are nothing to write home about, but they're fine. And yeah, you watch other reviews, the brakes are the one thing that Triumph clearly saved money on. To me, that's a bit confusing. Brakes are maybe the one thing that will save your life. Why did we save money on that? Lights in Japan are so confusing. Green arrow through a red light. So riding this bike alone, not thinking about any other bike, I would say there's no regrets here. Other than, not to say it's a Triumph thing, but it's just a brand new first time model. I personally would wait to see how reliability holds up over the first couple months. And luckily I can't afford a new bike for at least 3 to 4 months. But as far as comfort and usability and everything, this could be the new king of the 650 range, depending on your personal taste. I say engine types, if you want crazy torque, look for a twin. Though the Honda wasn't I would say this is actually pretty comparable to the Honda I rode. This is a bit more comfortable maybe. The seat, be it only 5% more comfortable, but it is more comfortable. This is the best stock seat you're gonna get in the 650 range. So if you want to get a bike and change nothing about it, this would probably be the bike for you. The mirrors are fine. I can see plenty of what's behind me and my elbows. I would say they stick out a good 3 inches, 10 centimeters or so. So if lane filtering's something that you're interested in. But the bars aren't that wide. Not narrow, not uncomfortable. Like, I would say they're in that perfect spot. Skinny enough to get through traffic, wide enough to be plenty comfortable. It's just, according to the bike, I'm currently getting around 20 kilometers per liter and somewhere in the mid-50s in US MPG. I can't help you with Great Britain, because even a gallon's not a gallon in different countries. The world should go metric for sure. The only thing I would say negative about this bike, one's me, one's the bike. Size-wise, some people said I do look a bit big on it. Last exciting turn. It definitely drops in comfortably. But the negative I would say, besides maybe it's a physically smaller bike, the throttle is just very slow to act. But here, let's shift up to 6. Yeah, 30 kilometers an hour, 6th gear, it'll pull along without hesitation. I don't know. If I can learn to live with that throttle being a bit slow, which I guess is better than snatchy. Like, you don't want a throttle that just jerks you all the time. Like my 07 Tiger 1050 or the MT, for example. But I would say the first 10% of the revs, you're getting very close to nothing. I don't know that this is lighting a fire in my life either. Like, it's a great bike, it's just, and I would say it's the throttle. I don't feel alive like I did on the Street Triple, which is a completely different category of bike. But even compared to the Honda CB, this is a very tame bike. So maybe that's what they were going for. Their target audience is people who commute. Their target audience is people who want to live with this bike every day. You don't want something super bonsai every day. For reference, my knees are comfortably bent. I'm flat-footed. I'm not too scrunched either sitting on the seat. And I'm about 5'10", 5'11", US feet inches. 178 centimeters, I believe. And now I have to sit in traffic to get up to the dealer right here. I don't know. If you're happy with the slow to turn throttle, and that might be nice, the slow throttle, in the sense that you don't need all your power right away. When you're in slow traffic like this is actually really perfect. Yeah, it's won me over. Scratch a lot of that. I guess I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, it doesn't have that subtle rev, but for a test ride bike, that might be something that you wish it could go vroom vroom. But the turn radius, the seat comfort, the position, it's a perfect size bike, especially for Japan. One quick update, I saw my reflection in the window, and maybe it was a funny picture I saw of myself, maybe the angle was off, but I looked perfectly fine, similar to the Honda CB. The other thing is I was wrong about the fuel economy. That was not the kilometers per liter reading, that was the average speed. They've disabled the fuel economy reading, which is another concern I have. You can't tell what your current fuel economy is, and they haven't published official readings. So I'm wondering if it's actually tragic on fuel economy, and that's a bit of a deal breaker for a 14-liter tank. I'm currently used to about 25 kilometers per liter, and I'm only willing to settle so far, unless you give me a really big tank, but I do care about things like fuel economy. So I'm curious why you cannot find official Triumph fuel economy figures, and why it's disabled on this bike. So, one more note, as I ride home and reminisce about it, I did stick around to talk to the lovely people of Triumph, because yes, they did say the idea behind the slow throttle is to make it more approachable to a new rider, because maybe a street triple is not ideal for a brand new rider. I also talked to him about the fuel economy, and the mechanic told me he had been riding it around and he had been checking with people because Triumph hasn't given her an official number. What he got was about 10 to 15 kilometers per liter, and I was kind of disappointed when Honda only gave me about 20.5, but now I'm thinking with Honda I was giving it a rather spirited ride. And so even if they're running the Triumph ragged, I've owned liter bikes with better fuel economy than that. And that was another fear of mine, is Triumphs can be known for being a bit low on fuel economy. Now I'm thinking, for that bike and that price, I could get a 2018 MT-09, even the SP, and get better fuel economy and better everything. When I took out the GSX S750 from Suzuki, that's a significantly bigger motor, more power, more everything, bigger tank, heavier, yes, but the comfort was comparable. The fuel economy was quite a bit better again. So 14 liters by, say, 15 kilometers per liter, you're not going very far. In fact, even here in Japan, where there's fuel stations all over the place, there are little stretches that I go on. If that's really what the fuel economy is, I literally won't make it to a fuel station. Maybe people are being a little too spirited with it, maybe it's a new bike, but still, if the numbers are that low, there's no chance I could even consider this bike. Maybe that doesn't matter to you, maybe you're not interested in those figures, but one other thing, and I only know the prices here in Japan, the price difference between the Street Triple S and the Trident are roughly about $200 US. If it's my money, for the better brakes, more longevity of the bike, the lighter weight, and somewhat more comfortable seat actually. The Street Triple S did have a more comfortable seat. I sat on it immediately afterwards. I would get the Street Triple S. But then, why not save my money and go with the Suzuki GSX? More power, slightly more features, like the traction control and ride mode, and more torque, more power, more everything. And you're gonna have a reliable bike for the foreseeable future. I don't know, what matters most to you, you decide, but Triumph's not officially releasing fuel economy stats on this bike, I'm going to give you the hearsay of it's actually a moderate car when it comes to fuel economy. And then the reviews that were in the Canaries are all saying you're getting something close to 20 kilometers per liter. And it's all word of mouth. There's no actual answer there. That's why it's a bit too nerve-wracking for me to consider the bike. But if we're to overlook that and base it purely on the feelings of the ride and the ride I got, now that I've taken a good 20 minutes to think about it, I would say it's comparable to the Honda CB, but for me personally, I would pick the CB because Honda reliability, bigger tank, better fuel economy, significantly better range. I like touring, but I like touring on naked bikes, which is why I'm riding a V-Strom with no windshield. You decide what's good for you. That's what's good for me, but it's a great bike, and I hope it shakes up the market by saying, yes, you can give us traction control, you can give us ride modes, you can give us upside down forks in this price range. As far as the engine, it was also less torquey than this bike, and this is a 2014 V-Strom 650. That's something that was a bit disappointing, because this makes lower torque and lower power numbers, and the whole big selling point from Triumph was their broad torque range, which was definitely not as potent as my budget adventure bike from 7 years ago. For the right person, it's every dream coming true. I don't think I'm going to be the right person. Leave any comments and questions below. I'll try to answer as many as I can. I hope this was helpful for you to get a definitely non-expert opinion of that bike. Till next time.